Okay, let's start the chapter. This is chapter 9, and it's essential business essential, and it's about motivating, satisfying, and leading employees. In this chapter, our learning objective is to identify and discuss the basic forms of behavior that employees exhibit in organizations. Describe the nature and importance of individual differences among employees. We will explain the meaning and the importance of psychological contract and the person job fit in the workplace. We will also identify and summarize the most important models of employee motivation. Furthermore, we will describe the strategies used by organizations to improve job satisfaction and employee motivation. Further, we then define the leadership and distinguish it from regular management. We will summarize the approach to leadership that developed in the 20th century, and we describe the most recent ideas about effective leadership. In the forms of behavior, employee behavior, there is what we look at the employee performance behavior, organizational citizenship, and counterproductive behaviors such as absenteeism and turnover. The first thing we need to look at is the personality. And there is 5 fundamental traits that are especially relevant to organizations. The agreeableness, the degree of it, the consciousness, the emotional, the extroversion, and the openness. Emotional intelligence is about, or EQ is about social skills, self-awareness, self-regulations, the motivation, and empathy. Now, what's an attitude? Attitude is a reflection of our beliefs and feeling about the ideas, situation, and other people. Job satisfaction, on the other hand, is the extent to which people have a positive attitude toward their jobs, whether they have a positive or not. And then you have organizational commitment or job commitment, which is it reflects on an individual's identification with the organization and its mission, or they associate with it. Now, job satisfaction comes from many sources, and most of them have to be available. It's a job first of all. It's a career. Balanced lifestyle must have a market, has a passion for it, must be empowerment. There is a variety of it, and should be a positive attitude. These are things that really revolve around job satisfaction. Now, when we sign a contract or work for a company, there is what you call a psychological contract, which is the expectation held by employees concerning their contribution to an organization and what the organization will provide to them in return. And what do you call the contributions from the individual will result inducement from the organization. And they're like contribution like effort, ability, loyalty, skills, time, and competencies. And in return, there is a pay, there is benefit, there is job security, there is a status, promotion opportunities, and career opportunities involved in it. That's what you call a psychological contract. Now, there is another approach is what is matching a people and job is person job fit. So the matching of an employee's contribution, needs, job-related behavior, and the ability to the need of the job. And that's what you call a job fit. Person job fit is important consideration when you're hiring people for a specific job. Some might thrive working in extreme weather, traveling most of the time, or performing risky tasks like this window, for example, if you see the example, cleaner or washer. But others will prefer for a less exciting job, 9 to 5 jobs. So what's a motivation? Motivation is the set of forces that cause people to behave in a certain ways. There is different theories available for them. And the known one is the classical and scientific management theory, the behavior theory, and the contemporary motivational theories. Now, in the classical theory, workers are motivated primarily by money. If money motivates, then paying employees more would result in a higher level of production. And the scientific one, or scientific management, is analyze the job and find more efficient ways to perform them. Time and motion studies. And they do that in a McDonald's usually. And then you have early behavior theory, which is a human resource models, theory X and Y. We took it in this earlier. Maslow's hierarchy of needs model and two-factor motivational hygiene theories. At the Hawthorne effect, there is a tendency for worker productivity to increase when they are receiving a special attention from the management and learn to turn on the lights on and off. As we see here, the Hawthorne studies, good example of it. And then you have what you call a human resource model, which is theory X and theory Y, and true duality of opposite perception of employees, how you perceive it. And theory X believes that employees dislike work, like lazy, irresponsible, uncooperative, and you need to threaten or punish for a result. In the theory Y, employees are energetic, growth-oriented, responsible, cooperative, and use the intrinsic rather than extrinsic rewards. Now, the Maslow's hierarchy theory is based on need, and basic needs must be met before an individual seek a higher level needs. And we will look at this, analyze it, and see how it works. The two-factor theories separate two factors and two things. One is a motivational factors and another is hygiene factor, and they're not related to each other and they have to be looking at it. And motivational factors might cause satisfaction and dissatisfaction, just like the hygiene factors cause satisfaction and dissatisfaction. And we will look at these samples. Now, in the contemporary motivation theory, we have two theories, which is one is the expectancy theory, and another one is the equity theory. In the expectancy theories, people are motivated to work towards rewards that they want and believe they have a reasonable chance to obtain. So there is a personal goals, and the personal goals will get through the individual efforts, and the individual effort should be related to the individual performance. So individual effort toward the individual performance. So there is effort performance issue. And then you have individual performance that organization will give them a reward, which is a performance reward issue connections. And then organizational rewards will generate a personal reward. So there's also a reward personal goals issues. In the equity theories, where you always compare to the individual compare their perception of equity with others, what they contribute as input compared to others' output, what they received as an output compared to others' output. The result is the feeling of equity or inequity. The ratio must be fair, not the same, to perceive the equities. Now, other theories that involve is reinforcement behavior modification theory, the goal setting theory, the management by objective or MBO theory, or just an MBO, the participative management and empowerment, the team management, the enrichment and job redesign and modified work schedule. It could be a combination of these might work. One of them would work. It depends on the situation. Now, in the reinforcement theory, which is the first one, behavior modification reinforcement, is about applying or withholding a positive or negative consequences in order to motivate employees. Pavlov theory was driven from that, which is a positive reinforcement, one type, the punishment, the omission, or the negative reinforcement, or the carrot and the stick theory. But overall, treating employees with respect and recognizing that they are valuable members of the organization can go a long way toward motivating employees to perform at a high level. Now, there is another theory called the SMART goals, or the goal setting theory, which is SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time frame. And it's focused on setting goals top help motivate employees, which is called SMART, abbreviation for its goals. Research has shown that goals that are specific, measurable, and moderately difficult to achieve, result in a higher performance for employees. Now, many software use the MBO or management by objectives in their HR solution mostly. It is system of collaborative goal setting that extends from the top to the bottom of the firm, which is employees learn more about the wide company's objective. They will know what's their company's objective. They feel as through they are part of that team to match that objective and see how they can perform company performance by achieving their own goals. And then when you have the participative management or the empowerment, which is employees are more satisfied if they have a say in how they do their jobs and how the company is managed. Like having German is pretty much pretty big in the quality circles and even wikis. Employees feel more committed to the goal, not desired by all employees. No, people says, no, we just want to work. We don't care what you want us to do. And then you have what you call the team management, which is individual employees are giving the decision-making responsibility for certain narrow activities, make a decision when they're supposed to do it, how they're supposed to do it. And there is different type that generate different types of teams, which is problem solving teams, a project teams could be a venture, virtual teams, transitional teams, and self-managed team. And that could be very obvious. You see it in the race cars where they have to change a few things in a car at the same time. Now, one of the things that you can do for employees is a job enrichment, which is expanding or adding one or more motivating factor to a job and used to increase job satisfaction. You can do also a job redesigning, like increase job satisfaction by improving the employee's job fit, combining some tasks, adding more tasks, creating a natural work group, establishing client relationship, and it's useful for individual whose strong need for growth or achievement. There's other enhancement motivations, other strategies is modified workplace. And that can be modified as a flex time, compressed work week, telecommuting, and work share management, telecommuting is what we do now at home, working from home. But the modified work schedule is basically allow individual to fulfill work commitment more effectively around personal and community obligations. In the flex time, it is about adjusting the standard daily work schedule to fit employee need. All must be available during the core time, but the other work, they can do it any other time, and the start and the end time can vary. And this is a good example of how between Joe, Sue, and Pat, how the works is happening, creating flex time and core time. Go through this. We also said that you can use a compressed work days work week, and it's like in the both cases you work in 40 hours, but in the second type you put 10 hours instead of 8 hours every day. Regular work week and compressed one. And then we have something called telecommuting, which is employees do all or some work away from office. You can do it from home like we do now because of Corona. Home-based office technology is used like computer, voicemail, email, modem, smartphones, and list goes on. Overnight delivery service. But there is one thing called work sharing also you can do, and this when you are not interested to do a full-time, two people share a single full-time position, useful for, especially useful for those who wish to stay in the workforce as a part-time mother with the young children, for example, partially retired persons. Most work share employees are university educated women in professional occupation. And in the leadership, we said there is a leadership and there is a management activities. We can take a look at this, especially in activities like creating an agenda, developing a human network for achieving the agenda, how to execute the plan. It's a difference between management and leadership, and how to look at the outcome. It's a difference between management and leadership. But we need to see who is the leader, and there is a belief that it's a trait approach, which is identify certain trait that would distinguish a leader from non-leader. But then we have what you call the behavioral approach, which is determine how the behaviors of a successful leader differ from those of unsuccessful leaders. And as we saw, is like a task-oriented and employee-oriented leader. The leadership style, there is a three styles, which is autocratic, democratic, and a free rein. Many managers use one style, but some may use a combination of the style depending on the situation and type of the work. The situational, or what you call a contingency approach, is about leaders behave differently in a different situation, and is based on the characteristics of the leader or a combination with the characteristic of subordinate and maybe the characteristics of the situation will ask you to act in a certain way. Now, there is what you call the transactional leadership, the transformational leadership. The transactional leadership emphasizes on routine, regimented activities that focus on maintaining stabilities or the status quo. On the other hand, the transformational leadership is the ability of the leader to recognize the need for change, create a vision to make that change happen. These are samples of leaders. Now, the charismatic leader is usually somebody who possesses a high level of confidentiality, of confidence, a strong need to influence others, communicate high expectations of subordinates, and generally more successful at influencing subordinates. The charismatic leaders, there is envisioning, energizing, enabling. That's the three things. We'll define these for you. Leader as a coaches. It's basically helps select team members and others new employees, and they coach them, provide some general directions for them, help train and develop the team, and help the team to get information and resources. And then you have, when we look at the gender in the leadership, we notice that more women in a management role these days, but women tend to be more democratic when making decisions. And then we see more cross-cultural leadership. New leaders are coming from diverse background, and that usually leaders may have a different leadership style. But as we said, there is a differences between Canada and USA. Canadians have more subtle and subdued style in the leadership, more committed to the companies. They're less willing to follow mindless faiths and more accustomed and open to diverse culture. Recent trends in the leadership, there is what you call a strategic leadership, is somebody is able to see the whole picture and envision the necessary changes. And then you have the ethical leadership, usually somebody, you find them in the HR department also, is a person who follows high standard of ethical leadership. And then you have the virtual leadership, these days getting developed pretty quickly, involves communications electronically rather than face-to-face. Here's some questions, we need to answer them. In which motivational theory does the employee subconsciously ask, can I do what is required? And do I want the reward? Your answer? Yes, expectancy theory. The motivational theory that focuses on inputs and output and the relative ratio employee is called equity theory. Emphasize motivating the worker through the characteristic of job itself. It's about job enrichment because we change the characteristics of the job itself. Your manager has agreed to allow you to work an additional 2 hours per day from Monday to Thursday. We just spoke about that. And then take every Friday off. Your modified work schedule is called compressed work week. At Humber Lumber and Building Center, department head usually make a decision after meeting with the employees, seeking their ideas and suggestions. Department head at Humber Lumber makes extensive use of leadership or a style of leadership. And that's what you call what? A democratic. Thank you.